before we took a break, Joe, I mentioned this in terms of a marketing standpoint, and candidates have to realize that the voters and the workers, the people who work for campaigns, they're the customer base.
Yeah.
And as a marketing, what would you say to candidates on the GOP side?
Rule one: know your market. You know what I'm saying? Know your market, and to run a campaign. And Tom ran a great campaign. I mean, and it was a congressional seat. My race was a state senate seat many years ago.
And of course, this is Massachusetts, which is tough stuff.
Right, as Republicans, absolutely. And you got to know your market, know your customer, and with the campaign, you've got to crunch numbers, Tom. Right, you've got to look at the vote, because not just who you're talking to, but actually who's going to be called to action, who's actually going to go to the polls. So,
well, and I think the most important thing on a campaign is this, and it's a threadbare term, but the grassroots, and who's going to man the offices, who's going to bang on the doors, make phone calls, do those things and volunteer in waves. And when the first wave of volunteer gets tired, you got to have a second wave and a third wave, and the first wave is rejuvenated. And those people do tend to be on not the extremes, but the more dedicated people, and perhaps from a Republican point of view, more conservative. So when you alienate them, we've seen this in Massachusetts a couple of times now. I think we're 0 for 92 in congressional races, as well as the Senate, if you throw that in as well. That we don't have that base turnout in the case for Gabriel Gomez, for example, who was
and believe me, I tried. Although Michael Graham disagreed with me. Sara Marie, I know your husband is if I'm not mistaken, is a politician in Ohio, and since Ohio is a much more balanced state, is the dynamic different at all when you're running in a state that's competitive? What's the dynamic in that situation? How strong do you have to be with the base? Or do you try and fudge it in any kind of way?
Yeah, he's a state representative, and it really kind of goes back to what I said earlier, that you have to market, and this is a good topic, I think. You have to message and market, which both are really the same thing, to your constituents. You can't look at it from the 30, 40, 50, 60,000 foot level. You've got to get down to, what are the people who I want to be my constituents? What are they concerned about? Not what does the GOP want me to talk about statewide or nationally, but what are the people whose doors I'm going to knock on when I go door to door? What are they going to care about? And that's the part where I do think the state GOPs and the national GOPs seem to miss this. For whatever reason, the Democrats do a great job with this. It's kind of strange. The Democrats believe in this centralized federal government, yet when it comes to campaigning, they're very decentralized. And we're the other way around. We believe supposedly in not so big of a federal government and a centralized government, but when it comes to campaigning, we try to centralize everything up to this one national place, and it just doesn't work. You've got to really communicate and articulate your thoughts and principles and beliefs, to the people who just live right down the street from you. And so I think when you do that, you are able to connect because you're looking at the area that you live in. So whether you're a conservative or whatever you may be, if you're able to connect on a thought level and on a belief level with those folks, then you're going to do well.